Hello, I'm Jon Gentle, and I'm here to talk about my module that I'm working on called app MechaCPAN, not to be confused with MetaCPAN. It is an attempt to be an easy, opinionated way to deploy Perl code. So I work for a company called Vector Solutions, and one of our products that I primarily work on is called Safe Schools. We are an online safety compliance system for schools. We have a fairly standard stack. We do Catalyst, DBX class, template toolkit, all the regular stuff. We've been around for almost, over 10 years now for our current iteration of the code base. And somewhere around 2010, this is about what our deployments would look like. We would, on every machine, go to every machine and install every package that we needed. It was time consuming. We didn't do it often. Actually, we did it once. And then we did it a couple different ways over the years. That way, we discovered had quite a few problems. It was unrepeatable. We could not do it again. Each machine was done individually. We actually had a long-standing Heisenberg bug that would come and go depending on which machines were in the pool at the time. That was fun to figure out. It was unreliable. We were depending on the system-installed Perl, which was fine when we started, but then we wanted to update to a newer version of Perl, and we really couldn't without upgrading the entire system. It also scales fairly poorly. If you added new machines that were not clones of the other machines, you had quite the trick to try and do exactly the same version. So we learned some lessons. We learned don't use the system Perl, always install your own. The system Perl might be convenient, but being separate from that Perl means you can choose your version instead of just whatever Debian or CentOS happen to be using. We also learned don't install them globally. That means that we disconnected the installation of other modules that we needed from the Perl, which also meant that if we screwed something up, we could trash everything, try again, no harm to the Perl. We also didn't install the latest version because we always wanted to be running consistent versions. So we discovered a couple solutions, mostly from coming to Yapsies and whatnot, and some of them are using Perl Brew or PLNV. Personally, I prefer PLNV. The symlinks of Perl Brew didn't exactly sit well with us, but we use it to install specific versions. We use CPAN minus, the -L option so that we can install to a local lib directory. Speaking of which, we also use local lib quite heavily in order to localize the modules we would use. We also discovered when Miyagawa announced it, Carton, in order to create a snapshot so that we always had consistent versions of all the modules, not just the top layer. That helped us out tremendously. So over the years, we do just about this to do our deployments. We install PLNV, Perl build, so that we can build the version of Perl that we want, install CPAN minus, install Carton, and then actually do the deployment. And then install all of our private stuff, because we've added since then. It's a lot better than it was before, but I still think a single tool would be nice. So I've created app MechaCPAN in order to deal with this. I created it to mechanize all CPAN stuff. MechaCPAN attempts to be easy. I try and do things simply. I can install any version of Perl after 5.14. It's just because I'm lazy and not figured out a way to run the stuff that I need before 5.14. It can install modules from CPAN, as you would expect. It can also do both of them in one command, which is really where I think most of the value lies. It leads 3 files that we use today, the .perl version to tell PLENV what version to use. We use the CPAN file to tell what our dependencies are, and we use a snapshot file to know exactly what versions to install. MechaCPAN has no other dependencies but Perl. It is darkpan friendly, so I've started putting in some code to make sure that if you have code that's on a Git repo, you can install from it. It's easy to get. It's on a HTTPS. It is also opinionated. It creates self-contained deployments. It only writes to the local directory. Everything, logs, modules, and the Perl version are all installed into the local directory. It installs Perl into local Perl. That way, you can run it, or another user on the system can run it. Lib and local are also in at inc by default, so you don't have to monkey around with paths as much. Tests are skipped if it seems unlikely to fail. I have a complex way of determining whether or not it's unlikely to fail, mostly revolving around the snapshot file, because if you have a snapshot file, you've probably tested it. In conclusion, how I hope deployments in the future will look like is a single line. It looks like that. In conclusion, if you want to deploy applications DDMT, don't delay, MechaCPAN today. Thank you.